Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Enjoy! If there were 39 people on the bus, and 4 people got off the bus, that would leave 35 people remaining on the bus. So the fraction of people staying on the bus is 35 out of the 39 people on the bus. So our answer is, as a fraction, 35 over 39. And we can't cancel that any further. If you imagine these numbers written out as a list, there would be 5 lots of zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There'd be 9 lots of 1, so 1, 1, etc, etc. Okay, so when we're looking to see the total number of goals scored in the season, we could write them out as a list and then add them up. But a quicker way of doing that is just multiplying the amount of goals by the frequency. So we've got 5 lots of 0 goals, which will just be 0. 9 lots of 1 goal, so that's just 9. 4 lots of 2 goals, so that's 8. 6 lots of 3 goals, that's 18, and then 6 lots of 4 goals, that's 24. So all we need to do now is add up the 0, 9, 8, 18 and 24, which brings us to 59. So there were 59 goals scored. So the first thing I'm going to do is convert these patterns to numbers. So there are 8 coins in the first pattern, then 11, and then 14. And we notice that each time we're adding 3. So our rule would be add 3 or plus 3. So firstly we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest. Pay rise, sorry, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100 to make it a multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.012, so we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane. And so let's do Lenny. And so that's 100% plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%. We divide that by 100. Which give us 1.015, and then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier, and when we do that we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employees has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. You will need to use a paper and pencil to do this physically. You can't really do this on the computer, and make sure you have a ruler and a compass. So the first thing we're going to do is draw our 10cm line, and we're going to get our compass and we're going to measure the 6 centimeters for the left hand side. So we're going to measure 6 centimeters on our compass, and we're going to just put a little arc there. We can do the same on the other side for 8 centimeters. So we're going to do our 8 centimeter arc from the right hand side, and we're going to put the point of the compass here. It should be like that. And you can see where the 2 arcs overlap, which is here, and we can join these up with straight lines. and it says to measure the angle x. So we're going to need a protractor for this bit. I'm going to put our protractor here with the crosshairs matching here. So we're going to be looking at the inside, the outside one, and it comes up as 37 degrees. So our answer is 37 degrees. So we know that the mean is the sum of numbers over the amount. But in this question, we're actually given what the mean is. We're given that that is 29. We're also given the fact that there are 4 cards, so we're given the amount. So what we can do is just get our lines in and solve this. So what we're going to do is just times both sides by 4. So we're going to do 29 times 4, which is 116. And so we know that the sum of the numbers will be 116. So all we need to do is to find the 4th card, is get that 116 and just take away the numbers that we know. And when we do that, we get the answer 26. Now you can easily check this by adding up 37, 26, 27 and 26 again, and then dividing it by 4, and you will get 29. So we have an original amount, and this represents 100% of the original amount. The new price, new amount, represents 113% because it has said that it has gone up by 13%. So it has increased by 13%. And as a value, that increase is £1,287. So it's 13% of the original. It's gone up 13% of the original price. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out what 1% of the price increase is. Instead of 13%, we're going to work out what 1% is. And we're going to do that by dividing the amount by 13, and we get 99. So 1% represents £99. So 1% of the original represents £99. But the new amount is 113%. So we need to times the £99 by 113, which gives us £11,187. So the picture is now worth £11,187. So we're asked to reflect this shape along the line y equals x, and y equals x is a diagonal line where all the x values are equal to the y values. So at the bottom here we've got x is 10 and y is 10, so that coordinate would be 10, 10. And then obviously this coordinate 4, 4, etc. So we need to reflect it across this line. And so if I pick a point, I'm going to pick the top one. We can see it goes 4 diagonals to hit that line. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will go another 4 diagonals. So that will be one of the coordinates there. And I'm going to do the same with the bottom one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 diagonals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 diagonals. So it will be there. And then finally, I'm going to do this slightly harder one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kind of goes over the other one. Ends up here. So if we join these up, and we need to label it B. So there's a formula for percentage increase or percentage change, and it is the change over the original amount times 100%. So to find out the change here, we're going to do the difference between 1421 and 1100. So we're going to do 1421 take away 1100, which is 321. Divide that by the original amount. So the original amount was the 1100, and then times by 100%. And that's going to be 29.18%. A kite has one pair of equal angles, and looking at the diagram, this one here and this one here are going to be equal. It's the kind of, if the kite's the correct way up, it's the left and right one. So this will also equal 73. And so to find the angle x, we know that all angles in a quadrilateral, a four-sided shape, add up to 360. So we're going to do 360, and we're going to take away 172 plus 73 plus 73. And when we do that, we get the answer of 42. Integer just means whole number, so we're looking for all the whole numbers that satisfy these two inequalities. Well, the first inequality says that it has to be greater than 3. So the smallest number that is greater than 3 is 4. The second inequality says it has to be less than or equal to 8. So I'm just going to keep going till I get to a number that is less than or equal to 8. It can't be 9 because 9 is not less than or equal to 8. So our answer is 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So to find the gradient, we need the formula or the equation in the form y equals mx plus c. And the m there will give us what the gradient is. So we're just going to be rearranging this equation. And so I'll get my lines in. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the x's from the left hand side, and we can do that by adding 6x both sides. So we've got 6y equals, and I'm going to put the 6x first just to match the y equals mx plus c. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is get rid of this 6 because we just want a y there. So we're going to divide by 6 both sides. So we've got y equals 1x plus 36. Now we shouldn't really write 1, but because we're looking for m, we're looking for the number before x, I've kind of left it in there to show that the gradient will be 1. There's an awful lot going on in this question. Whenever there's an awful lot going on, it's always best to draw a diagram. So we're going to start off at Chiltern, which is a C. Then we go to Bolko, that's where we're going. And we go through Devley on the way. So we'll do D there. Distance from Chiltern to Devley is 34 miles. Distance from Devley to Bovlo is 16 miles. So I'm just reading through the question, adding it to my diagram. David leaves Chiltern at 9 o'clock. He drives from Chiltern to Devley an average speed of 68 miles per hour. And what speed does David travel between Devley and Bolko to arrive at 9:45? So the whole duration of this, the whole thing needs to be 45 minutes or 0.75 hours. And the entire distance is 34 plus 16, so that would be 50 miles. Okay, now having a look at this, we need to find out what time David was at Devley. So we're going to use our speed distance time triangle. So speed equals distance over time. And we're covering up the time because that's the one we want. So it's going to be time equals distance, which is 34, over speed, which is 68. So we're going to do 34 divided by 68, which is 0.5. So it would be 0.5 hours. So that would be half an hour. So we will be at Devley at 9:30. So that means we've got 15 minutes left. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes to travel the 16 miles. So this time we're looking for the speed. Okay, so it will be speed equals the distance, which is 16 miles, over time, which is 15 minutes, but we need that in hours, so that would be 0.25 hours. And so what we can do here is times top 1 by 4 to get rid of the fraction. So it becomes 64 over 1, or just 64 miles per hour. So our answer is 64 miles per hour. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other two in a right angled triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle, so it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared. And 49 squared is 2,401. And 68 squared is 4,624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down. And we're going to start by subtracting the 2,401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2,223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148, blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have a, we've got our b, and we're going to call x the c. So it'd be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but this time a is 39. B we are given as 47.148, we've just worked that out, and we're looking for c. In fact, we can call it x now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to x squared. And we just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides, and we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to x. It says it wants its two decimal places, so that will be 61.19. So we're going to write out the question again just to give us a bit more space. And we're going to put in our tram lines so we can solve it. Now we're going to solve this in exactly the same way as if it was an equation with an equals in the middle. One slight difference though is if you times or divide by a negative, you've got to flip the sign, but hopefully we won't do that. Now the rule when you've got an x's on both sides is you get rid of the smaller amount. So we're going to get rid of that 4x from both sides. We're going to take away 4x both sides. And so we're going to have 3x plus 8 is greater than 23. And then we're just going to solve this normally. So take away 8 both sides. And that will give us 3x is greater than 15. And then we're going to divide the 3 both sides. And that will be x is greater than 5. To see if a number's in a sequence, we get the nth term and we get it equal to the number we think is in the sequence. And if the number is in the sequence, then we'll get a integer for n. If the number's not in the sequence, then we'll get a decimal. So we're just solving this now, and we're doing 135 take away 24, which is 111. And then we're going to divide both sides by 10, and you're probably already seeing the fact that it doesn't work exactly because n is 11.1, which means that pressure is wrong. 135 can't be in that sequence. For this question, we need to first of all identify what information we have from the question. So it says the toy car is travelling at 13 meters per second at the start. So its initial velocity is 13 meters per second. It then accelerates. So we've got the acceleration, which is A. So 6 meters per second squared for 15 seconds. So we've got the time. So t is 15, if I can do a proper 15, there we are, 15 seconds. And we're asked to find the final velocity, which is a v. So we need to find out which of the formula at the top, which of the three formulae have v, t, a and u. So it's not the bottom one because that has an s. It's not the middle one because that has an s. It's going to be the top one. So I'm going to start just by writing the formula down. V equals u plus at. The v I'm going to keep as a v because that's the one we're looking for. U is 13, a is 6, and t is 15. Type that into a calculator and you get 103. Now the units are going to be meters per second because all of the units, the u and the a and the t, are all in meters per second or meters per second squared. So it's going to be 103 meters per second. To find out what the value of x is, we first of all have to find out what the value of y is. And we can notice that we've got two sets of parallel lines here, and a line going through them. And we kind of got these f angles, which we have to call corresponding angles. So we know that 2y minus 50 is equal to 78, and we must write down the reason. So corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are equal. Now here we've got an equation and we want to solve it, so we get our lines in. We go first of all add 50 to both sides. So we've got 2y equals 78 plus 50, which would be 128. And then we're going to halve both sides, or divide by 2. So we've got 64. So we know that y is 64. And so we look back at the diagram to find out how we'd work out x. Well, what we can do, there's a few different things we can do. We could work out the fact that these two here are vertically opposite. That would be absolutely fine. But actually, if we look at this part here and this part here, these are also two parallel lines, and we've got this angle here and this angle are going to be alternate. So I can write that down here. So angle ECB is equal to 78 degrees. So this will be 78 degrees. And the reason for that is alternate angles. And then finally, if we know this is 78 and we know that this is 64, because we know what y is, then we can work out what x is. So x equals 180, angles in a triangle, take away the 78 we know and the 64 we know. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And just make sure you write down all the reasons as you go. And when we take away the 78 and the 64 from 180, you get 38. So x is therefore 38 degrees. The formula y equals mx plus c includes this m, and the m means the gradient. So if we're looking for something that is parallel to y equals 9x plus 18, we're looking at this number here. And for it to be parallel, it needs to have the same gradient. So we could just write y equals 9x plus or subtract anything. Or we could just write y equals 9x. I'm going to say plus 5. The formula for an exterior angle for a regular polygon is 360 divided by the amount of sides. Now here we're given the fact that the exterior angle is 30 and we're looking for n, so we just need to rearrange the equation. We can times both sides by n. And then divide both sides by 30. And so we've got n equals 360 divided by 30. And when you do 360 divided by 30, we get the answer of 12. So it's a 12-sided shape. So we're asked to find the value of n where both sequences have the same term. So I'm going to start off by equaling both nth terms to each other. And then we can find the value of n, which gives the same term. So I draw my lines down. And I'm going to start off by getting rid of the n's from both sides. So we look to see which is the smaller amount. So we've got 12n and we've got 6n. So the smaller amount is the 6n. So we're going to take away 6n on both sides. And so that would be 6n plus 19. And we've got rid of the 6n, so just 79. Next thing we're going to do is get rid of the 19. So take away 19 on both sides. And so we've got 6n equals 79, take away 19, which is 60. And finally, we just go divide the 6. And so that would be n equals 10. So the value of n is 10. Now we can just test this, because if you do 6 times 10, which is 60, 60 plus 79, which will be 139. And then if we do the same for the top one, 12 times 10, which is 120, plus 19, which is 139. So they both have the same term when n is 10. There's a lot going on with this question, so I'm going to start off just having a look at the total amount of money. So I'm going to do this in pence, so 2115 pence. And if each merit point is worth 3 pence, then we can work out the amount of merit points by doing 2,115 divided by 3. So that gives us 705. So there's 705 merit points. Next, have a look at the question here, this part here, where it says James has X merit points. Sarah has 4 times as many points as James, so she's going to have 4x. Robert has 69 fewer merit points than James, so he's going to have x minus 69. And we know that that equals 705 because we've just worked that out. And this feels like a solving coming on. So we've got x plus 4x plus x, which is 6x. Minus 69 equals 705. And we're going to add 69 to both sides. So we've got 6x equals 774. Then we're going to divide 6 both sides. And so we've got x equals 129. So x equals 129. That means James has 129. Sarah has 4 times more, so she will have 516. And Robert has 69 fewer, so we're going to take 69 away from that, and that will equal 60. So we're going to start just by writing this out. So m equals 7 brackets x minus 10. And we're going to put our solving lines in. I'm going to start by expanding the brackets. And we don't need to. We could divide both sides by 7, but I think this is a bit easier. And we're going to subtract, or we're going to add 70 to both sides. So we're trying to get x as the subject. So we're trying to get x on its own. And we're next going to divide both sides by 7. So we have m plus 70, all of that over 7 equals x. So x equals m plus 70 over 7. We know all lines follow the y equals mx plus c if they're linear. And we know that m is the gradient, so the coefficient, the number before the x is the gradient, and the number on its own at the end is the y-intercept. So looking at this equation, the y-intercept will be plus 5 because that's the number on its own at the end. So we're going to plot that straight away because we know it's going to be at 5. So it's going to be there. We also know that the coefficient of the x is -2. Now what that gradient means is for every 1 we go to the right, we're going to go down 2. So if we go 1 to the right, it's going to be down 2 from the 5. Well, down 2 from the 5 will be 3. And then if it goes another 1 to the right, it will go down another 2. So that would be 1. So it would be at 3 and then at 1. And so if we draw that in, draw the full line in, we need to make sure we do it for the full graph, so make sure you have all the points. It should look something like this. When you have a fraction, it's just a fancy way of showing a divide. So this is x to the power of 11 divided by x to the power of 3. And indices rules say that when you divide two powers with the same base, you subtract the powers, so it becomes 11 take away 3. 11 take away 3 is 8, so that's x to the power of 8. To solve this, we've got to first of all factorise the left-hand side. And so we look at the number, and it's definitely a difference of 2 squareds. So x squared the square root of that will be x. And we think about what the square root of 144 is, which is 12. And so we plus 12 and we minus 12. So difference of 2 squares, you take the positive and the negative root. Now to solve, one of these brackets is going to equal to 0. So we're going to do the first bracket equal to 0. So we've got x plus 12 equals 0. And we're just going to put our lines down and take away 12 both sides. And we get x equals minus 12. So one of our solutions is minus 12. And we do exactly the same thing to the other bracket. So get it equal to 0 and solve. So add 12 both sides. You'll notice something about the numbers here, that they are just exactly the same. And that's because when you find a solution, you get the number here and you just change the sign, so that becomes minus 12 and that becomes plus 12. Factorising is the opposite of expanding, so instead of removing things from a bracket, we're actually putting them in a bracket. And so we're going to start off by just putting the bracket down, and we're going to think, well, what can we put on the outside? So we look at the 20x squared and the 35x, and we first of all think of the number. So we're looking for the biggest number that goes into 20 and 35. Essentially its highest common factor. Well, that's going to be 5. And then we look at the letters. So we look at the most amount of letters we can divide out. Well, this only has an x here, so it's just going to be an x. Then what we're going to need to ask ourselves is 5x times what is 20x squared? Well, 5 times 4 is 20, and x times x is x squared. Then to get the second term in the bracket, we ask ourselves, what times 5 is 35? Well, that's going to be 7. And what times x is x? Well, we don't need an x on the end of that. 5x times 7 is 35x. And you can actually expand that, and you can use any method you want, but I'll use smiles and rainbows. And so we're going to do 5x times 4x, which is 20x squared, and 5x times 7, which is 35x. So our answer will be 5x brackets 4x plus 7. The word truncated means that we just literally cut off the next number along. So if we imagine this is our number, we just cut it off. So it's not the same as rounding. We just don't change this digit at all. We just cut off the remaining digits. So the smallest number it could be before it was cut off is 79.500000. The largest number it could have been, well, it could have been 79.5999, etc. So that's the largest it could have been. So to do our error interval, well, the smallest it could have been is 79.5, and it could have been 79.5. and we'll call this x. But we're looking at any number that is less than 79.6. So any number that's less than 79.6. If it was 79.6, then when we cut it off, it would show as 79.6. Something we know about rectangles is opposite sides are equal. So these two will be equal. And these two will be equal. And you notice now that we've got simultaneous equations. So what I'm going to do is get the coefficient of the y the same. And I'm going to do that by multiplying everything in the second equation by 3. So we get 6x plus 9y equals 123. And I'm just going to write in the first equation underneath, because with simultaneous equations we work downwards. Now looking at the signs, they are the same, and the s in same is the s in subtract. So we're going to subtract going downwards. We're just going to subtract going downwards. So 6x take away 3x is 3x. 9y take away 9y is nothing, which is good. That's what we need. And then 123 take away 93 is 30. We're going to get our solving lines in, and we're just going to divide by 3 both sides. So we've got x equals 10. So we know what x is, but we need to find out what y is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick one of the equations. I could pick the 2x plus 3y equals 41, and just substitute the value of x in. So 2 times, instead of x, it's times 10, plus 3y equals 41. So it would be 20 plus 3y equals 41. Get my solving lines in. And we're going to take away 20 both sides. So we've got 3y equals 21. And then we're going to divide by 3 both sides if I don't run out of room. So y equals 7. So we've got x equals 10, y equals 7. Now I could check that with the first equation as well. So 3 times 10 is 30, 9 times 7 is 63, 30 plus 63 is 93. So we know we've got it right. First thing we need to do is work out the volume of this prism, and it's a trapezium-based prism. So the volume will be the area of the cross-section, or area of the trapezium, times the length, how 3D the prism is. So trapezium is half a plus b h, and then times the length. Now A and B are the two parallel sides, which will be this one and this one. And then the H is the perpendicular line that hits both of them at 90 degrees. So what perpendicular means, between the bases. So this will be the 25 meters here. So it's going to be half, and then we're going to add 1 and 5. Times that by 25. The length is how 3D it is, so it would be that 10 there. So we're going to times that by 10, and that will give us 750. So it's 750 meters cubed. Now there is a little formula we can make for the rate. So the rate of anything for this will be the volume gained over time. Now, with this question though, we're interested in the time it will take. It says how long will it take. So we're actually looking at the time. So it will be time equals the volume, which is 750, over the rate, which is 15. So 750 divided by 15 is 50. So it will take 50, and let's have a look. It says per minute. So it would be 50 minutes. There are two shapes we need to find the volume of. There's this cylinder here and this hemisphere here. So we might as well start with this cylinder. And the formula for the volume is pi times r squared times height. So it's the radius is 9, so 9 squared times the height, which is 30. And when we work that out, we get 7,634.070, blah, blah, blah. Next is the hemisphere. To find the volume of the hemisphere, well, the volume of a sphere is 4/3 times pi times r cubed, but because it's a hemisphere, we just times that by a half. So it's half times 4/3 times pi times r, which is the radius, which is 9 cubed, and that gives us 1,526.814, blah, blah, blah. And so the total volume is 7,634.070, blah, 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 plus the 1,526.814, blah, 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 which equals 9,160.884, blah, blah, blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so when we round that, we get 9,160.88. First thing I'm going to do is add these column vectors. So we're going to add the tops first, and then we're going to add the bottoms. So it's plus minus 14. And so at the top it would be minus 4, and 11 take away 14 is minus 3. Then I'm going to pick a point on my shape, and the the top one tells us how far right we're going. So we know we're going 4 to the left because it's obviously a negative. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one tells us how far up we're going. Well, it's going to be down because it's a minus 3. So 1, 2, 3. And we can do that for each of the other points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And when we've done that, we can join them all up with straight lines. And label the new shape B. The surface area of a sphere is found with the formula 4 pi r squared, with r being the radius of the sphere. So we're going to do 4 times pi times the 20, and that gives us 5,026.548, blah, blah, blah. And when we round that to 2 decimal places, we get 5,026.55 centimetres squared. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.